Welcome to the Talent Transformation Podcast. Our guest today is Steve Page, Global VP of Product Management at IKEA. Steve, welcome.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
It's good to have you here, Steve. IKEA is a big brand, so I think a lot of people feel they know a lot about the company. So I want to dig a little more into your background first.
Sure.
I spent a lot of time as a headhunter before I got into technology, and I think you did too.
Yes, yeah. That was start of my career really was as a recruiter, then moving to difficult to fill roles as a headhunter, and it was quite challenging, quite interesting. But it was the thing that really pushed my interest in this particular market sector.
Yeah, it's a shared experience, but it's interesting that you then made that transition into a product role.
Yeah.
Well, is it a product role or is it a technology role?
It's a combination. So my career really moved from being a recruiter and a headhunter, and then I moved. I wanted to make an impact within organizations, so I ended up moving into HR business partnering roles to influence how we recruited and who we recruited, and then eventually became a global HR director. This role is a combination of that and the digital aspects. So I'm very keen on efficiencies, and I hate admin. I really hate admin. So as I went through my career, I was in a situation where I wanted to find ways of reducing the amount of workload on admin that people were suffering, especially as recruiters, because you're more effective if you're talking to people.
Yeah.
So
if you could stay on the phone all the time back in the day, then you were, well, if you were a headhunter, you were making money. If you were inside a corporation, you were hiring more people.
Yeah, exactly. So I was really interested in technology and implementing technology to improve that. And this role at IKEA is a combination of the understanding of HR and then the implementation of digital strategies in order to bring that to life and also react to the market to make sure that we're effective in what we do.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. When I left recruiting and went into the internet to employment classifieds, and then came back to do the corporate work, I really struggled with the technology that the corporations were using, the traditional ATS. So we sort of developed what became CRM. But tell me about your journey through the technologies that you've worked with.
Yes, when I first became an organization asked me to be a recruitment manager or a recruitment director, and then they would ask me to go out into the market and to see what technology we would bring in. Then it was the likes of Taleo was out there in the market, starting Headway and Brass Ring and other interesting technologies were then coming in, and they were associating themselves to job boards like Monster and Total Jobs and other things that were happening. And so I was asked to go out and see if I could combine these technologies in order to make it more efficient. And as I then moved into the more HR environment, the HCM elements were coming in as well.
So when you went, you started in recruiting, but when you went from figuring out how recruiters recruit better using technology into the rest of HR, was that a natural progression? And when you did that, did you find that what people were looking for was really different?
Yeah, absolutely. Part of the frustration when you're a recruiter is trying to work out some of the weird and wonderful decisions that the organizations make with regards to, this week we need a new salesperson because we're not hitting our sales targets, and then next week we can't afford a salesperson.
Right.
But how does that work? Surely you're still not hitting your sales targets, so therefore you need a salesperson. When you go more onto the HR side or to the business side, you realize that a lot of these decisions are not made by need. They're made by the internal politics that are driving the requirements of the organization. So having the understanding of why the decisions were made and what was driving the need for external recruitment actually really helped a lot of recruiters, and definitely me, to pick the right technologies or to to pick the right strategy to go out to market. And also, it made you very aware of speed, because people can change their mind very, very quickly. So if you don't move quickly and you haven't got the right technology in place, then you may find yourself wasting your time. So that was a big thing as well.
Yeah. So tell me about IKEA now, because it's a big organization. Where are you inside that organization?
So my role is actually with the digital organization at the moment. So I sit under the global CTO. And I have my clients are the HR team. My clients are the retail business. My clients are the executives in the business who want to understand exactly the next strategy that we're going to use to go forward. So I have a team of about 300 people underneath me, or myself and a colleague of mine based in India. Mm-hmm. We share the responsibilities of driving both the product organization and the engineering organization. And we basically have the overview of all people technology for all of the workforce globally.
Okay. So how are you thinking about this now? Are you in the middle of a digital transformation right now?
Yes, right in the middle. So it's not just a technology rollout. It's actually a ways of working and a sort of a global mentality change. So it's a cultural change that we're going to. So every country we roll out to, it's not just the technology that's changing, it's the processes that are changing, how we do those processes, the impact of those processes. So it's a very big cultural change that we're doing. While we're doing that, we're also doing a massive change in the stores about the way that we schedule our people. We're taking the view that to really attract people to the organization and to live up to our values, we need to empower our colleagues to be able to make choices of their own. So when you're in the store, you may have a contract to fulfill maybe 30 hours a week, but you can't work on a Tuesday, or maybe you can't do anything on the weekends because of childcare. So we're now going through a process of implementing new technology so they can have impact on their own schedules. They can swap shifts. They can make decisions. They can speak to their colleagues and make internal moves rather than having to burden management with all these decisions.
Right. As long as you keep operations at a certain level of strength, if they can move around underneath that with what they need to do.
Exactly.
But that does place a lot more demand on the technology.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, definitely. So it's for us. It's at the moment we're trying to get a better understanding of what the flow should be, how much control we give to our colleagues, how much needs to be done by managers, how much needs to be done centrally, and we have quite a disparate franchised network of hundreds of stores in different countries with different legal precedents, and this then changes the way that they need to work as well. So our recruiting practices need to reflect our new values and our new culture that we're going to implement as well. So
yeah, it's a more complex story to tell for the recruiters.
Yes.
But I think the idea there also is that you are better able to satisfy the demand, right?
Yes, and the nature of the target audience is changing. So one of the things which we're really becoming cognizant of is that we're not really going out to the market to identify candidates anymore. We're going to market to identify digital users. So this generation, or not even the generation, but the people now have so much more understanding of how to use digital platforms, then we can reach them in different ways. And we need to be selling ourselves as an organization, as a modern, attractive organization for them and them to understand the value of coming to work for us as well. So it's the whole thing is changing at the moment, and we're trying to keep up with it.
That's a lot of change in a very big organization globally. You're reporting up to the CTO, so you are on the technology side of the house.
Yeah.
how do you deal with the expectations that the business side has about new things like AI, for example?
Yeah, I think the business is really looking to us to give guidance as to how things like machine learning and AI are going to benefit the organization. So we need to get a better understanding of what, chatbots we need to use, what type of interactive tools we need to use, at what point we lean on technology to organize interviews, to identify candidates in the market and such. I think the business is looking to us with the problem, not necessarily understanding the solution. So we need to become with that solution very quickly once we've managed to articulate what the problem is we're trying to solve. And normally that problem is volume, and competing with other people in the market. And when you're talking about store level, we have a lot of competitors for our staff.
Yeah. Have you always been when did you get into retail?
Retail, my background is I've mainly been with either high-tech organizations.
Yeah.
Spent a little bit of time in Formula One. Yeah.
How exciting.
Yes. Yeah.
Did they give you a car?
Yeah, exactly. No, I didn't get a car. But so I've really come from semiconductors, high-tech software, that sort of.
Okay.
Yeah, where actually it was not high volume recruitment, it was more specialist directive recruitment. But that actually in itself gave me a really good way of understanding that I needed to identify what the problem was first before I can go and get the solution. And high volume recruitment is a strategy to go and solve that problem. So it's a different way of doing it, but you're actually using the same sort of mentality to go and identify how to do it. So this is I worked for a couple of smaller retailers, but nothing at this level before.
Yeah, it's very competitive on the ground.
Yeah.
In retail, it's a different beast altogether, right? And particularly because of scale.
Yeah.
Right. So has the scale thing made you think differently about the technology?
Yes, because I think the scale, more the breadth of multi-country targeting as well. You've got legislation that you need to be thinking of. You've got changing boundaries in the way that we even speak to people and address them. So we have to be cognizant of the way that we utilize technology, because also you don't want to impersonalize the whole thing, because if you just rely on technology, then suddenly you're not speaking to people. If you're not speaking to people, you're not really giving them a sense or feel of your values and the tradition that we have in a company like IKEA. So we're trying to balance it at the moment, but it's the scale itself. Everything in IKEA, because it's a store by store, is still very localized. Even if you do something from a country level or a continent level or a global level, we're always thinking of what is happening on the ground in the store. So we have to recruit with that localized mentality, but just do it on a bigger scale. Yeah.
Yeah. And does that also involve language?
Yes.
So you're working in local languages all over the world.
Yes.
At the retail level.
And this is is interesting. I had a conversation with another Avature user yesterday who was asking how we managed that. Because we use 30 plus languages in Avature alone. I said, but how do you do that? Because that's a lot of work. Yeah,
it is.
It is a lot of work, but this is one of the values that IKEA has, is that we respond to our local market. If we make a commitment to go into Romania or into Bulgaria or into China or into a particular region that has a dialect or a language that we're not currently using, we will commit to doing that, because we are attracting a localized group of people, and we want to demonstrate that we are responding to the local culture. So it is one of the core values of our organization to say, it's costly and it's a lot of work, but we're committed to do it.
Right. It's fundamental to the business model of IKEA. Yeah. But, for a lot of our customers, we have customers that have to do that. We have customers that, they're high tech, they work in English. High-tech workers are very highly paid. They all have a certain level of technical aptitude.
Yeah.
So they narrow the scope of the things that they actually have to do in each market. And sometimes the markets actually start looking all the same.
Yeah.
Whereas I know, we support you in China, and, WeChat is where most people communicate. They tend to run their life on it. And if you're recruiting in China and you're not relevant on WeChat, you're probably not getting candidates, right? So,
Exactly.
And yet it's not an issue at all. You don't even use WeChat in Europe or the United States.
Yeah.
So how do you operationalize that complexity too, though? Because you have to roll out systems around the world. Okay, you have to train people around the world. You have to train people in different languages around the world. You have to collect data from around the world to figure out how much you know about what's happening in all of these places. Are you doing anything special in that sense? How do you look at the data that you get from your recruiting operations? What do you do with it?
Well, at the moment we're going on a drive to create data hubs.
Okay.
That specifically draw data from particular types of technologies around the world. We have quite a wide portfolio of technology that we're trying to bring under control a little bit.
Okay,
Again, being a traditionally technology was chosen in the location that it was being running. So we have recruitment tools, we have language tools all over the world that are independently bought by the countries or by the stores themselves. So we're trying to bring that all together. Once we're doing that, then we're trying to bring the data into centralized data hubs so we can manage it. And that's the best way to do it for security, GDPR rules, data protection rules of individual countries as well. And from there, we can then start pulling the information out to create insights. And I think this is one of the things that we are very serious about is, one, protecting the data that we have about our employees, but make sure that we use the data positively within the organization to generate enough of an insight and understanding that we can then help managers to make good decisions. We can make great recruiting decisions. We can understand trends. We can understand issues or problems from that as well. And we can then start doing predictions on where there might be an issue within either a particular country or a particular organization, to say, after maybe 2 years service in this particular area, in this type of role, we tend to start losing people. So, what do? Do we sit back and say, okay, well, we just prepare for that to happen? Or do we say, how can we get them re-engaged? What are the interests? Where are they going? How are they, where do they want to develop? And we have a great tradition across IKEA of development. So, our CFO and our current CEO, all of them, developed from other roles within IKEA, whether it be from a store manager or from a logistics lead to working on launching a country or running a region, to now taking these senior positions. And there are multiple of stories of individuals who started their role handing out blue bags at doors in stores.
Right. Okay.
That are now running teams of hundreds of people across the globe with IKEA, because the opportunities are there. So we need to use that data in a way that we can spot the opportunities to grow and develop what we have, because it would be such a waste to let to lose someone to a shoe shop,
right?
Because we haven't spotted something that they need,
right?
And we could have easily addressed it if we understood that. So this is this gives us a greater insight.
So obviously there are technical ways that you can enable this and facilitate this around the world, with internal mobility and better engagement with employees. Is that and yet that challenge is really vast, right? Are there special things you're doing right now that you think are going to facilitate that more from a technical perspective?
Yeah, we're looking. I mean, it is a vast challenge, and it will be an ongoing thing that we need to do. And there's different things needed for different regions. At the minute, we're trying to capitalize on what we can do to create simplicity and synchronization throughout the business. So it's, what are the things that our co-workers are, would appreciate that are being done elsewhere. So things like benefit portals and onboarding tools that we're doing with Avature, for instance, at the moment. The way we onboard people and the information we give them about that, if it's, if we can make it so basically the process they go through in, Sweden is the same process they'll go through in the US, or the same process they go through in the UK or in China, then it's going to make the company seem a lot more smaller and more of a community. And that is the real setup of IKEA, is we're meant to come together, we're meant to be one group of people. So trying to leverage technology to recognize the similarities we have across these areas is really quite key overall.
So what's the biggest challenge you have now over the next couple of years?
I think merging the portfolios that we have, identifying key technology partners that are that we're gonna build this new technology foundation on. We need to really launch technologies that are going to appeal to a new digital generation. And we're gonna do that in a way that's, we're gonna fail on a couple of things. We're gonna make a few wrong mistakes, and we're gonna adjust. But we need to be very agile in the way we do it. We need to recognize that early and then move to the next stage. But I think right now we're trying to unpick the complexity that we've created over the last 80 years. It's worked very well. It's not a problem.
Right.
But we can be more efficient, we can be more cost effective, and we can then sort of start rebuilding on a foundational platform of technology that's going to mean that we can make more efficient and more speedy decisions. So we need to look at how we, one of the problems we have at the moment is the amount of time it takes from an initial contact with someone who says, I would like to work with IKEA, to when we could actually get to talk to them. A lot of companies have solved that. There's technologies out there that solve it. We just haven't engaged that technology fully at the moment. Now, Avature is exactly that for us.
Right. Yes.
But we're not properly utilizing it yet. So we need to leverage that over the next year or so to say, okay, well, what do we do better? What aren't we using, and how can we be smarter in the way that we work to contact people?
Well, we see in the younger generation, I call it, I'm not the only one, but the attention economy, right? Where you don't really have a lot of time to get the attention of people anymore. You're down to, advertisers think 6 to 8 seconds to get a person's attention. And then to hold their attention is really become a completely new game. So I think, having strategies to address the real market trends is absolutely survival. To survive, you need to do that. Final question, is it getting harder or easier to hire?
It's getting different. It's different to hire. I think it's very lucky to have a brand as well known as IKEA. It's very iconic. It's interesting environment, but we get a lot of recommendations because we do create a very nice environment for people to work in. Most of the people that I talk to when I travel around the world, I ask them why they worked at if they worked at IKEA for 10 years, why are you still working? Even if they're on the shop floor or cashier, and it's I love it. The people, I just love the people. I love the setup. I love coming to work every day. I love what I do. And the only way, even if you've got someone with that attitude, the only way you can continue that is to create the environment around them that allows them to flourish. And that's the bit that we're very proud of in the organization, because we've created that. We need to continually work to maintain that, and we need to get the right people in that's going to add to that going forward. So I think we've always had a lot of people, but we've 1.6 million applications in the last 12 months have come through to IKEA, and we hire about 93,000 people. So there's a lot of turnaround. Now, being in retail, that's
Par
inevitable.
for the course. Yep.
But it is a competitive market, as we spoke before, and we need to be quicker, and we need to take advantage when people want to work with us. Then we need to do that. So again, it's about engaging new technologies to be proactive rather than reactive. And again, this is the sort of thing that we're working to in the next 12 months or so.
Fantastic. Steve, thank you so much for coming in, sharing some insights with us. It's been a pleasure.
Pleasure from my side. Thank you.